Abanawa, Shabashimayim, Kodash, Haya, Shemka, Yahawa, Malakwaka, Taba'a Ratazaka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Haya, Bashimayim, Lathan Lanawa, Lakam, Kal Yawam, Wasalak Lanawa, Khawabwat Nawa, Kasalak Nawa, Kawabwati Nawa, Wala'a, Tabaya Nawa, Banasayawan. Abo, Haushai Nawa, Mayan, Rai Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha Allah, Waha Tafa Arath, La Iwalamium, Aman.
After this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, great glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Salutations to the elect, pushing this truth to the four corners of the earth and truth and its sincerity. In this particular video, we're going to talk about the MOB. Now, the reason I'm saying it like that is because Esau's linking the MOB to the old 1-9er. So now if you talk about the MOB, he can flag, strike your channel, and take your video down. So when I say MOB, you know what I'm talking about. You see it on your screen right there. This video is important because you have other camps out there and other individuals teaching the flock that the MOB is something else. They're saying that it's Christianity, John 3:16, an embargo, or something spiritual. It's not. It's a physical thing. All right? It's what you see right there on your screen. So we're going to break this down and also tie it in with that old 1-9er, if you know what I'm talking about. So the first precept I want to grab is Job chapter 5 and 12, and we read, He disappointed the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. When you get inside of that word device, it means thought, plan, purpose, a plot, cunning work, curious work, intention, means, purpose. And his plot or intention is to get off his enterprise. And what is his enterprise? Well, first, let's get the definition. This is enterprise, a project or undertaking, typically one that is difficult or requires effort. And this enterprise that we're talking about right now is the NWO, or the New World Order. And they've been planning this New World Order for a very long time. You can even look at the back of your dollar bill and you're going to see Novos Ordos Seclorum. What does that mean? What I typed in on Google was Novos Ordos Seclorum. Then I went down to a drop box that says, what does Novos Ordos Seclorum mean? And it means New Order of the Ages, which breaks down to New World Order. So the New World Order in a nutshell is to have the population take the MOB and to also not have the population exceed 500,000. Now you have something called the Georgia Guidestones. Well, some people say it was built by Ted Turner, and I personally believe that it was built by Ted Turner. But it describes the New World Order agenda. But when you read it, you have to have information already to read between the lines to understand how they would go about getting this off. One of the things that people focus on when they read the Georgia Guidestones is not having the population exceed 500 million. Now, what does that mean? It means that they will have to kill billions of people. And the rest of the population that survives, that 500 million, they have to take the MOB. That's Esau's enterprise or New World Order in a nutshell. So right now, we're going to prove that the MOB is what we say it is, and then we're going to break down what that means. So let's get Revelations chapter 13 and 16, and we read, And he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Now let's look up that word mark. So you go to the word mark and you click on it, and it's going to bring up the word charagma. And we're going to focus on thing carved, sculpture, graven work, graven mark. So this right here proves that this is a physical thing, not anything spiritual, that you are going to have to take a physical mark. This word charagma comes from the word charax, and the definitions that we're going to focus on is a pale, a stake, a palisade, to sharpen to a point. And this word right here describes the delivery system to give someone the mark. So this describes the hypodermic needle that is sharpened to a point to puncture your flesh and give you the mark. And this word charax comes from the word grapho, and the definitions that we're going to focus on is to fill with writing, to give information. Right, this mark has all sorts of information on it, down to your medical, your identity, your wallet, and it also gets deeper. It has information on your thoughts, your dreams, etc., etc. And we're going to prove that further in this video. They just don't have a mark that goes in your hand. They have one that also goes in your brain. There's a man that goes by the name Elon Musk, and he created something called the Neuralink, and it's a mark that goes in your brain. How he implants this Neuralink in your brain is by a machine. Now this machine cuts a piece of the skull out about the size of a quarter, and then it puts the device in there that replaces your skull, and then those thin threads connect through the device to your brain about an inch away. I'm not just going to claim that the MOB does these things. I'm going to show you two videos. They're going to be kind of long, but if you want to, you can skip them, but they're very informational. With no further ado, let's hop inside of these videos.
My name is Steve Hoffman, but in Silicon Valley, they call me Captain Hoff. That is my nickname. I am the captain of Founderspace, and Founderspace is an incubator and accelerator. It went black. Here we go. Yeah, an incubator and accelerator that works all over the world. So I spend 70% of my time traveling the globe looking at new technology. We have over 50 partners in 22 countries. And Founderspace has been rated by Forbes magazine as the #1 accelerator for overseas startups in Silicon Valley. We have had many famous startups in our co-working space, Soma Central, like Instagram, AngelList, Foursquare, and today I'm going to talk about some of the technologies that most fascinate me. So, these technologies are the future of the brain, our human brain, and where it is headed with technology. So if we examine our brain, we will realize that for over 100,000 years, our brain has remained the same. But the world around us has changed radically. So think about it. We have the same brain as a prehistoric cave person, as a Neanderthals, it's same brain. But the world has totally changed. That is the power of our brain. It's very elastic. It can reprogram itself. But now, we're going to begin to change our brains. And we are doing this with new technology. Now, some of the basic technology out there, EEG, allows you to actually measure your brain waves. And these devices can tell if your concentration levels. They can be used to actually move a cursor on a screen. There are applications for these devices in entertainment. They're working on them for controls for games. In medical, these devices are being used for conditions like PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and ADHD, and other conditions. And they're being used for education. They have applications now for children to study and they measure their concentration levels and can actually change the applications as the children learns. But where we're headed, and let me tell you, 1 minute, is these devices are now capable of actually recording dreams, but not in a very granular way. In a very primitive way, they can actually capture and identify what a person is dreaming. So they have done studies where they've hooked these devices up to a person's head, they've had them dream, they woke them up, and then they asked them to recall memories in their dreams. And they read the patterns of the brain. And then the person goes back to sleep, and if they dream of the same things, they can recognize those patterns. That is just the beginning of where we are headed. Right now, scientists in laboratories around the world are developing brain chips. Now, these are chips that can be inserted into the brain, and they are wireless. And let me show you. They have actually had a monkey that broke its back. So its spinal cord was severed. The monkey was paralyzed from the waist down. But they inserted a chip in the monkey's brain, and then they inserted another chip in its lower spine. And they allowed the brain to communicate with the lower spine. As soon as they did this, the monkey could walk again. That is amazing. Totally amazing. So they could actually transmit the thoughts of the monkey wirelessly to parts of the body. But it gets even more amazing than that. So they now have, in a laboratory, monkeys with chips in their brain. And then they have an electric wheelchair. And just by thinking, just with the thought of the monkey, they can drive the wheelchair around. Think about that. If a monkey can do that, what could you do if you had that chip in your brain? They have also done experiments with monkeys with a chip in their brain and a robotic arm. And the monkey, just by thinking, can reach out and grab something like food and feed itself. That is amazing if you think about it. So the monkey's thoughts are actually able to control things outside their body. So when we start to think about the future, about where technology is headed, this is where we're going. We will have brain chips in humans. And the people who will get those brain chips first are people who suffer from severe medical conditions. So if you have a severe medical condition, like you're paralyzed from the neck down, or you suffer a brain disorder like Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's disease, and that brain chip can restore your quality of life, would you hesitate to get the chip? No, of course not. You would say, put the chip in my brain. So that is starting right now, these experiments. And even more interesting, scientists have done experiments with rats, and they have chips in the rat's brain. And what they did was they taught a rat how to do certain things. And when the rat did all these complex things, it could get food. Now, it took the rat weeks to learn that. Weeks. But then they hooked the rat's brain chip to the internet. And they had another rat in another city. And instantly, they connected those two rats' brains. And do you know what happened? The other rat knew how to get the food right away. It didn't have to learn anything. The knowledge was transferred from one brain of a living animal to another brain. That is amazing. That opens up a world of possibilities. Because if they can do that in rats today, imagine 10 years from now what they can do in humans. And we will go there. So, mind-to-mind communication. This is something of science fiction that we all read about. But this is actually possible today, as I just showed you. So there will come a point where if we have a chip in our brain, and you out there have a chip in your brain, we can communicate. We can communicate without talking. We can communicate when you're halfway around the world. And we can exchange knowledge. So, if you look at a world where we have these chips that are connected to the internet, all of a sudden, every piece of information on the internet becomes accessible to our minds. Now, when we look back at today and we have to go to Baidu or Google and type it in, that will seem so primitive. Nobody will do that. You will just think, what knowledge do I need? And it will appear there for you to use. But it gets even weirder, stranger. Because we will not only be able to transfer knowledge, but we will be able to transfer memories. Now, so you could have an experience like skydiving, and all of a sudden you could transfer that experience to a friend, and all of a sudden they have experienced what you have experienced. It gets even weirder, because we will be living our lives as our lives. We know our lives and our memories, but you will all of a sudden have access to anybody's life who wants to make it available to you. People will open source their lives so others can download pieces of their lives and experience those things. That will be really strange. We won't know the difference between our own memory and a memory we acquired from someone else. Think about that. It gets even stranger. So, all of us are here learning at Siebes, right? Getting EMBAs and MBAs. Well, this will be obsolete, because Siebes will literally be in the cloud. And you will just download from all the best minds in the world whatever you need to know when you need to know it. Our brains we will no longer have universities as we have them today. That will change. Information will be on demand. Information will be commoditized. Knowledge will be commoditized. All of us will be smarter, have infinite amounts of storage, and infinite access to information. It will be unheard of. We will no longer be this isolated human being. We will be connected to everything. So, you can imagine not only will we be able to get knowledge, but we can actually have full experiences in our head. So right now we have these clunky VR units that we have to put on. But in the future, you can just download a whole environment and actually live in it. And all of you might think, this is not real. But do you know, every night when you dream, those dreams are real. No matter how fantastic your dreams are, they are real. You feel like you're really there. Our brains have that capability already built in. All it takes is the technology to stimulate and transfer the right images in our brain, so our brain creates them, and then we will live like the difference between us dreaming and reality will be blurred. We will be spending a lot of time outside our bodies. So, think about this. You, as a human being right now, are trapped in this body. But once you are connected to the internet, you are no longer trapped in your body. You can actually be anywhere at any time that any other person or any other device is getting sensory information. So there could be a robot on Mars, and you could literally tap into the robot on Mars, and it would be like you're on Mars. It could totally recreate the experience, including the sensations, the physical sensations, like everything of you being on Mars. You can live through other people. Your favorite pop star, your favorite scientist. You could be in Elon Musk's head right now, walking around doing what he's doing, if Elon Musk allowed you to do that. It gets so strange because our senses now, we have our 5 senses of our body. But suddenly, if we are connected to a world of intelligent machines and intelligent sensors all over, we will no longer have 5 senses. We will have access to hundreds of sensory input. Infrared, right? all these UV, all these different types of senses that we never even experienced before. It will radically change how we perceive existence. So if you start to go down this path, you see, we won't even be, our life today will be totally alien to us. We will be living in a whole nother reality that is blending information, sensory information, data information, memories, all of this from all around the world in this vast internet. And that will and can happen. So let's go even further. Experiencing other lives. So all of us experience things in our life. But now we will be able to have many lives. You can have many lives because you can access other people in other places and live through them. And if you want to think about this, it can be almost like heaven. Why do I say this? Because if you study every major religion in the world, every religion, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, what those religions promise us is that we will escape our bodies in the future. We will go to some heaven or nirvana or a state of non-being or a state of inclusiveness with everybody. No longer will we and our consciousness be confined to our bodies as an individual. In fact, if you look at us right now as a human being, if I feel pain, if I'm in pain, nobody else can feel the pain I feel. If you're in pain, I can't feel your pain. I can feel sorry for you, I can empathize with you, but I cannot feel your pain. But in this world, we will actually be able to feel the emotions of other people. You can actually not just transfer data and sensory information, but emotions. I would know your pain, you would know our pain, and human beings would never be alone. So, we will come to a point where we, as gods, like gods, will be creating our own reality. We will be redefining what the human experience is for the first time in history. This can happen, and it will happen, but what we want to think about is this. Technology is really powerful. The internet, being connected, is really powerful. But we've already seen, in a very primitive way, just with our cell phones, these primitive devices, how it can totally change our life. Like all of our lives are changed by WeChat. All of our lives are changed by the internet. Well, we are embarking on a path now where we will become the internet. The internet will become us. They will be inseparable. We'll have our storage and everything else all over the place. And when we do that, we have to understand that this is a big responsibility. It's something we as a society, we as the human race, must think about very, very carefully. Because imagine, people can hack your cell phone now. People can hack your computer, and it can be bad. They can steal your banking information, take all your money. They can steal your identity, but they can't really hurt you. In the future, though, if somebody hacks into your head because it's connected to the internet, they can steal you. They could actually steal you. They can implant memories in your head that you don't have. They could erase memories. They could control you in ways that you wouldn't even know you're being controlled. Is this scary? So I painted on the hand a heaven, but there is also a hell, right? This is heaven and hell. We are on the cusp of this technology that is so powerful and has the potential to so radically transform our lives and our existence, and we have to be very careful about how we do this. We don't want people controlling us. So think about this. Think very carefully. Everybody in this room are very smart people. You're all highly educated. We are going to be making these decisions that lay the groundwork for this technology in our lifetime. And those decisions will affect the rest of humanity more than any decisions we have made in the past. So I wanted to thank you. I am the author also of this book, Making Elephants Fly, published by Zhang Xin. And I love China. I travel here all the time looking at new technologies. And I just want to say it has been a pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
This is Revelation chapter 13 and 13, and we read, "And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men." Now the wonders that it's talking about is Esau's technology. Through the video that I just played, you can see a lot of Esau's miracles and his wonders through the MOB. Now I'm going to play another video that gets more inside of the MOB that goes inside of your brain, because the one in the hand does different things. The one in the hand acts as a wallet. You can probably turn on your car with it. You can get inside of your house with it, certain things like that. But the one in your brain, you connect to the internet. You can control technology with that, which also gives them the ability to read your thoughts, dreams, etc., etc. So with no further ado, let's hop inside of this video.
So what the beeps you're hearing are real-time signals from the Neuralink in Gertrude's head. So this Neuralink connects to neurons that are in her snout. So whenever she snuffles around and touches something with her snout, that sends out neural spikes, which are detected here. All right, welcome to the Neuralink product demo. I'm really excited to show you what we've got. I think it's going to blow your mind. So I want to emphasize the purpose of Neuralink. Like, what's our goal? Our goal is to solve important spine and brain problems with a seamlessly implanted device. So you want to have a device that you can basically put in your head and feel and look totally normal, but it solves some important problem in your brain or spine. So going into the Neuralink architecture, what we've done over the past year is dramatically simplify the device. So we about a year ago, we had a device which had multiple parts, including a piece that had to sort of sit behind your ear, and it was complex, and you wouldn't still look totally normal. You'd have a thing behind your ear. So we've simplified this to simply something that is about the size of a large coin, and it goes in your skull, replaces a piece of skull, and the wires then connect within a few centimeters or about an inch away from the device. And this is sort of what it looks like. So, yeah. This is our little device. That thing at the bottom is just to hold the threads in place, because they're just like little fine wires. I mean, frankly, to sort of simplify this, what we're, I mean, it's more complicated than this, but it's, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires. Our current prototype, version 0.9, has about 1,000 channels, so that's about 100 times better than the next best consumer device that's available. And it's a 23 millimeters by 8 millimeters. It actually fits quite nicely in your skull, because your skull is about 10 millimeters thick. So it goes flush with your skull, it's invisible, and all you can see afterwards is that there's a tiny scar. And if it's under your hair, you can't see it at all. In fact, I could have a Neuralink right now, and you wouldn't know. Anyway, so it's also inductively charged. So it's charged in the same way that you charge a smartwatch or a phone. And so you can use it all day, charge it at night, and have full functionality. So you would really, it would be completely seamless, and yeah, no wires. In terms of getting a link, so that, you need to have the device, a great device, and you also need to have a great robot that puts in the electrodes and does the surgery. So you want the surgery to be as automated and as possible, and the only way you can achieve the level of precision that's needed is with an advanced robot. The link procedure, the installation of a link, done in under an hour. So you can basically go in the morning and leave the hospital in the afternoon. And it can be done without general anesthesia. So this is our surgical robot. And we actually ultimately want this robot to do essentially the entire surgery. So in everything from incision, removing the skull, inserting the electrodes, placing the device, and then closing things up and having you ready to leave. So we want to have a fully automated system. So this shows you at sort of a close-up view, which I think is actually not too gruesome, of the electrodes being inserted in the brain. And if you look closely, you'll see that it's a little counterintuitive that if the electrodes are inserted very carefully, that there's no bleeding. And so if you have very tiny electrodes, and if they're inserted very carefully, so that the robot actually images the brain and makes sure to avoid any veins or arteries, so that the electrodes can be inserted with no noticeable damage. So you will have no noticeable neural damage in inserting the link. So does it actually work? And what I'm excited to show you, I call it like the Three Little Pigs demo. And if our animal handlers, we're bringing out the pigs. And what we're going to show you is well, I'll walk right over and show you. So what we have in pen number 1 is Joyce, and she does not have an implant. Obviously healthy and happy. We're trying to get Gertrude out, and this is how you know it's a live demo. So here's Dorothy, and in the case of Dorothy, Dorothy used to have an implant, and then we removed the implant. So this is a very important thing to demonstrate is reversibility. So if you have a neural link and then you decide you don't want it, or you want to get an upgrade and the neural link is removed, is it removed in such a way that you are still healthy and happy afterwards? And what Dorothy illustrates is that you can put in the neural link, remove it, and be healthy, happy, and indistinguishable from a normal pig. Oh, thanks, Dorothy. Here we go. Great. Okay. Great. Okay. This is a high-energy pig. All right. Gertrude, thanks for coming out. So what the beeps you're hearing are real-time signals from the neural link in Gertrude's head. So this neural link connects to neurons that are in her snout. So whenever she snuffles around and touches something with her snout, that sends out neural spikes, which are detected here. And so on the screen, you can see each of the spikes from the 1,024 electrodes. And then if she snuffles around, touches her snout in the ground, or you kind of feed her some food, pigs love food, then you can see the neurons will fire much more than when you're not touching the snout. And that's what's making the beeping sound. All right, cool. So as you can see, we have a healthy and happy pig, initially shy, but obviously high energy and kind of loving life. And she's had the implant for 2 months. So this is a healthy and happy pig with an implant that is 2 months old and working well. Yeah. All right, cool. And then we actually have, I hope this works, so we said, well, what if we do 2 Neuralink implants? And we've been able to do dual Neuralink implants in, actually, I think 3 pigs at this point, and we have a couple of them here. And we've been able to show that you can actually have multiple Neuralinks implanted, and again, healthy and happy and indistinguishable from a normal pig. So it's possible to have multiple links in your head and have them all be sending out signals and be working well. All right, so we just showed you a demonstration of reading brain activity. And let's see, probably see that. As I was saying, each of those dots represents a neural spike, and the blue chart at the bottom is showing an accumulation of neural spikes in that region. So in terms of additional brain reading activity, When we have, say, one of our pigs on a treadmill, pig on a treadmill. It's funny concept, really. And we take the readings from the neurons, and we try to predict the position of the joints. And so we have the predicted position of the joints, and then we measure the actual position of the joints. You can see that they're almost exactly aligned. So we're able, with a wireless neural implant, to actually predict the position of all of the limbs in the pig's body with very high accuracy. Now, in terms of writing to the brain or stimulating neurons, we obviously need precise control of the electric field in space and time. We need a wide range of current for different brain regions. Some regions require delicate stimulation, some require a lot of current, and you want obviously no harm to the brain over time. And the way part of the way we analyze the stimulating neurons is with a 2-photon microscopy. I always have trouble pronouncing that, microscopy. It's very impressive technology. You can actually literally see in real time how the neurons are firing. So the red sort of things are the neurons. The red sort of flashing things are the neurons firing, or I should say the electrodes firing. So the red things are electrodes firing, and then the green are the neuron bodies responding to the current from the electrode. And we're making good progress towards clinical studies. I'm excited to announce that we received a breakthrough device designation from the FDA in July, thanks to the hard work of the Neuralink team. So I want to be clear, we're working closely with the FDA, and we'll be extremely rigorous. In fact, we will significantly exceed the minimum FDA guidelines for safety. We will make this as safe as possible.
But what are some likely first applications?
So our first clinical trial is aimed at people with paraplegia or tetraplegia, so cervical spinal cord injury. We're going to enroll, we plan to enroll a small number of patients to make sure the device is safe and that it works in that case.
Yeah, so actually just to elaborate on that, if somebody is like a severe spinal cord injury, to the degree that they have very limited control even over their facial muscles. I think something that's very exciting as a long-term application is if you can sense what somebody's trying to do with their limbs, what they want to do with their limbs, then you can actually do a second implant that's at the base of the spine or wherever, just after wherever the spinal injury occurred, and you can create a neural shunt. So I think long-term, I'm confident that long-term it will be possible to restore somebody's full body motion.
Another question from Twitter, will you be able to save and replay memories in the future?
Yes, I think in the future you will be able to save and replay memories. I mean, this is obviously sounding increasingly like a Black Mirror episode, but well, I guess they're pretty good at predicting. But yeah, essentially, if you have a whole brain interface, everything that's encoded in memory, you could upload. You could basically store your memories as a backup and restore the memories. And ultimately, you could potentially download them into a new body or into a robot body. The future is going to be weird.
One common theme that's been coming up a lot on these Twitter questions coming in is that of availability. And so Matthias has a specific question on this, which is any estimate of how much it will cost at launch and what price it will reduce to over time?
Well, I think at launch, it's probably going to be, I would say that's not really representative, because at first, I think it's going to be quite expensive, but that price will very rapidly drop. And I think over time, we want to get the cost obviously down as low as possible. But I think inclusive of the automated surgery, I think we want to get the price down to a few $1,000s, something like that. And I think that's possible. I think it should be possible to get it similar to LASIK, and then the device electronics itself, I think will not be very expensive. Because it actually does use a lot of the parts that are made in extremely high volume in tens of millions of units for smartphones and smartwatches and wearables in general.
Well, there you have it, the miracles and wonders of the MOB. Now, before we end this video, I want to get inside of the technology, mentality, and reality. First, they have to build the technology of the MOB. Then they have to get you mentally to accept it. And then it's going to be the reality of it just being a part of your life. They already have this technology built. They already have it in the stores. They already have it on your phone. They already have it on your car. And they also have it for you to get inside of your house. They already have a lot of technology built surrounding this MOB. Now the thing is to get you to mentally accept it. Now the way that they're going to get you to mentally accept the MOB in your life is a combination between predictive programming and virtue signaling. And we're going to get the definition of them both. When you type in predictive programming, it's going to bring up this. Predictive coding, also known as predictive processing, is a theory of brain function in which the brain is constantly generating and updating a mental model of the environment. Another definition of predictive programming is a subtle form of psychological conditioning provided by the media to antiquate the public with planned societal changes to be implemented by TPTB. If and when these changes are put through, the public will already be familiarized with them and will accept them as natural progressions, as Alan Watt calls it, thus lessening any possible public resistance and commotion. It's a veiled form of preemptive mass manipulation and mind control. Now let's unpack this. Now, if the brain is constantly updating what the environment should look like around you, the only thing they have to do through predictive programming is to keep putting it in your movies, your TV shows, your cartoons, etc., etc. And this is one of the tactics that they use to get people to accept their agendas. And many people will be deceived, but the elect will not be deceived. And we're going to get that scripture in a minute. But first, let's get the definition of virtue signaling. Virtue signaling, an action or practice of publicly expressing opinion or sentiment intended to demonstrate one's good character or the moral correctness of one's position on a particular issue. Some examples of virtue signaling is their face covering. People say it's the moral thing to do and it's the right thing to do. Save others. Also taking that one-nighter juice. They're saying that's one of the main things people should be focusing on right now if we want to get back to normal. And people are looking at other people as selfish if they don't want to take that juice. And eventually, it's going to be that MOB. So the combination of these both, virtue signaling and predictive programming, is nothing but deception to get you to bow down to their agenda. Let's get the book of Matthew, chapter 24:24, we read. For there shall rise false Messiahs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. So the elect cannot be deceived. The elect was given the gift to see through all that bullshit. So there's nothing that they can do to psychologically manipulate the elect to make them take anything. Thus saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, the elect cannot be deceived. So before I end this video, I just want to get into what it means to take that MOB spiritually. So with that, let's get the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 15, 16 and 17, and we read it. And it shall be, if he say unto thee, I will not go away from thee, because he loveth thee in thine house, because he is well with thee. Then thou shalt take an awl, and thrust it through his ear unto the door, and he shall be thy servant forever. And also unto thy maidservant thou shalt do likewise. So if you have a servant that does not want to leave and he wants to dwell with you forever because he loves you, what you would do is you would take an awl. And an awl is something like an ice pick used to poke holes through things, and you will put a hole through his ear, and this symbolizes that he is your servant forever. So this same concept is applied when taking that MOB. You're showing the devil of the earth that you will serve him forever, that he's your new master, and that is you turning your back on Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, so you will get punished. I hope this video was edifying, and with that, I'm going to say shalom. On to the next one.